Namaste. We are very glad to have with us Professor Sudhir Lall today and tomorrow, who is going to tell us the story of Vedic chanting, the living tradition of Vedic chanting in India. First of all, just a quick word on Professor Sudhir Lall, whose complete profile you can please find on our website, which is iks.itgn.ac.in. On that website, you have all our past speakers and a whole lot of video recordings also. As you know, today, for this semester, the theme is Living Traditions of Sanskrit. And clearly, we could not do without the living traditions of Vedic chanting, which are very, very appropriate. And it's a fascinating topic to which I was personally somewhat exposed in Kerala when I visited some of the Vedic schools where this traditional chanting is still learnt and taught. It's one of the longest and possibly the longest oral tradition in the world, and we're going to hear a lot more from Professor Sudhir Lall. Professor Lall is a well-known Sanskritist and Sanskrit scholar. He's also, for quite some years, working with IGNCA, Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts, where he runs the Vedic portal. There is considerable material on the IGNCA website, but also several projects for IGNCA and basically related to India's cultural heritage. So you will have much more about him on our website. And with these few words, I would like to request Professor Sudhir Lall to give us his presentation today. We will keep about 15 minutes as always towards the end for interaction, and we will continue this exploration tomorrow. Thank you, Professor Lall.
Namaste. Namaste, Professor Danino, and good morning to all of you who have joined us today. It's indeed an honor to be here, though I very much wanted to be physically there, but due to some constraints, this session is happening virtually. So first of all, Professor Danino and his team deserves a big round of applause and congratulations for curating this extremely relevant program, because a lot of curiousness and anxiety about our knowledge traditions has been witnessed in the past few years, and there are several dimensions of it emerging. So we need to know from where it all started. So I think in this direction, this particular session or two are going to be important. And as Professor Danino told me, that these talks are aimed at arousing curiosity and awareness about our knowledge tradition. So this is, and I think, as we all know, the Vedas are the fountainhead of Indian civilization, Indian culture, all our tradition, be it our performative traditions or the utilitarian ones even. They all emanate from the Vedas. They have Vedic roots. Of course, I was browsing through the website and the links which Professor Danino very kindly shared, and I could notice the range of which to which it has gone into. So right from architecture to various aspects of contemplative thoughts, you have covered, I think, the entire ground. And I'm very happy to be presenting something, sharing some ignorance of mine with all of you about the Vedic tradition, which is as he rightly mentioned, it is the oldest living tradition. So without this, this would have remained slightly incomplete, if I may say. So as we all know, we have been listening a lot about the Indian knowledge systems. So we thought it is appropriate to mention what do we understand by, of course, you all know it very well, but just to give a recap, the Yagyavalkya Smriti refers 14 sources of knowledge or the Vidyasthanas. And they are Purana Nyaya Mimamsa, Dharma Shastranga Mishritaha, Vedaha Sthanani Vidyanam, Dharmasya Cha Chaturdasha. That is the Vedas, the four Vedas, the Rig, the Yaju, the Sam, and the Atharva. And Vedangas, the Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaran, Niruk, Chandas, and Jyotish, Purana, Nyaya, Mimamsa, and Dharma Shastra. These constitute our knowledge traditions. And also in the Mundaka Upanishad, a very interesting passage is found where the Vidya is divided into two major categories, the Para and the Apara. Dve vidde veditavye itihasma yad brahma vido vadanti para chaiva aparacha. Tatra apara rigvedo yajurvedaha samavedo atharvavedaha shiksha kalpo vyakaranam niruktam chando jyotisham iti. Atapara yaya tadaksharam adigamyate. That is, knowledge is dealt within apara vidya. The Vedas are scriptures and Vedangas, the Vedic auxiliary sciences that deal with phonetics. Every Vedic scripture has four types of texts: the Samhita, the Brahmana, the Aranyaka, and the Upanishad. And there are special grammar rules for each recension or shaka. As we all would know, there are about 1,000 plus shakhas of the Vedas. Shakhas would not exactly mean the branches, but the recensions, because there were certain families and traditions in different parts of India who upheld the Vedic knowledge and transmitted it orally from one generation to the other. So this is the fascinating journey we are about to begin as to how this knowledge, this huge corpus of knowledge, all in all, in the Vedic tradition, if we say, all the samhitas, or the first part, major part, we get a corpus of about 20,000 odd mantras. So this is a huge body of knowledge which has come to us, handed down from one generation to the other, in an uninterrupted manner, which is an incredible thing. And this is the beauty of it. So we will be discussing as to how this miracle happened. So as we were talking about the recensions, there are texts called the Pratishakyas, and phonetic rules are there, which are described in the Shiksha Granthas. So this complete body of knowledge emanates from the Vedas, and the Vedas are the source of integral wisdom, science, tradition, and culture of a remarkable civilization. They are oral compilations of distilled wisdom of cosmic knowledge survived from time immemorial. They are not only identified as scriptures, but also, as we said, are the fountainhead of Indian culture and human civilization. The word Veda can be derived in about 4 ways. The first is from the root word is vid, that is to know. So first meaning of the Veda is to know, or the knowledge. Then Next is with Jnani, that is, or Vicharane, that is to contemplate. So this is a compilation of the contemplative knowledge. Then, of course, third one is with Labhe. So it is beneficial to have learned the Vedas. And finally, with is also used, this root is also used for compilation or sangraha. So as we mentioned, this is a sangraha, an accumulation of knowledge. So we have the Rik, Yajush, and the Saman sort of mantras, and these are compiled together called the Vedas. And it may be noted here that this is not a created knowledge. It is a perceived knowledge. It is not srishta, it is drishta. Why? Because the rishis who saw in their deep contemplation, they visualized the mantras. The mantras appeared to them. That's why the very definition of the word rishi is mantra drishtaraha, someone who sees the mantras. So rishayoha mantra drishtaraha. The rishi is one who sees the mantra. So they were not composing, they were not writing it down. They in the deep contemplative state of mind, they realized the mantras. So as we say in the Shilpa tradition, every icon is already there in the stone. You just have to take out the extra material and the icon manifests itself. So likewise, the knowledge which was eternal knowledge, which was there, the rishis saw those knowledge capsules and versified them. So what is the meaning of the word Veda that we have discussed? And now, as we all know, this is not a one single literary work, but a huge corpus of knowledge. And it has been verbally transmitted, and these are also called the Shrutis, because that's how it was transferred from one generation to the other. It was all through the oral medium. So the gurus would recite the mantras, and the shishyas or the disciples would imbibe them, and then they committed it to memory. And how was it possible that somebody humanly, is it possible that someone will memorize 10,656 odd mantras? So this was a very curious thing which happened in India. Another thing about Vedas, which is very important to be noted here, that Vedas are self-evident and self-authoritative texts. They do not need anyone else or any pramana else to for their validation. They are self-validated texts. So in the Indian knowledge tradition, we don't question the authority of the Vedas, because these are not composed by the human authorities. Yaska, who's one of the oldest expositor of the Veda, has distinctly said that the seers received the sacred knowledge, and then they handed it down to their descendants by means of oral instruction. The great Vedic commentator Sayanacharya has given a definition of the Veda. Ishta prapti anishta pariharyor alaukikam upayam yo grantho vedayati sa vedaha. That is the scripture or the knowledge bank which describes the divine method for obtaining what is desirable and for giving up what is undesirable is called the Veda. this definition presents the purpose of the Veda. And there was another sage, Apastamba, who described the Vedas as Mantra Brahmanayor Veda Namadheyam. That is, Veda is the name given to mantras and Brahmanas. Now, Brahmanas are also a body of text. A mantra part is the main part of the Veda, and whatever is not mantra is the Brahman. So here it is interesting to know that the many definitions, many ancient definitions of the Veda, they also point towards the significance, form, or contents which are given in the ancient texts. Generally speaking, the word Veda signifies highest, sacred, eternal, and divine knowledge, as well as the text embodying that knowledge. Now, it is to be pointed out here that, for example, some people think that they have developed chronologically, but it may not be true, because we find the Ishavasya Upanishad, which is the 40th chapter of the Shukla Yajurveda. So it is already embedded in the body of the main Veda. So these are to be looked at as a holistic concept and not as a divided thing. A brief about the importance of the Veda is also in order. So I'll quickly read it out. The significance of the Veda is manifold. It has been universally acknowledged that the Veda is the earliest available literature of humanity. The Veda in the form of prose and poetry in Sanskrit has been regarded as authoritative knowledge. The authority seems to have remained unquestioned for several millennia, and it has been considered the last tribunal in the matters of dispute, whether in religion or philosophy or social customs. The term Astika is used for those systems of Indian philosophy which have faith on the authority of Veda, and the term Nastika is used for those systems of Indian philosophy which do not ascribe to the notion of authority of Vedas. The religion and the culture of Indic civilization are deeply rooted in the Vedas, and till today, all the worship, the yagyas, the rites, anushtanas, and attitudes are largely influenced by the Vedas. So again, it's a slightly longer discussion, so we can come back to it if we would have time. So now we move on to the next segment, which is how this body of knowledge. Just 1 second, please. Thank you. So how this body of knowledge, huge knowledge, came to us. If we visit the UNESCO site, of which I think Professor Danino has shared the link, in the year 2008, there were 3 inscriptions in the UNESCO's representative list of intangible cultural heritage. So as you all would know, this is a list prepared by UNESCO, and a lot of groundwork is to be done before something or some tradition be ascribed in this representative list. So IGNCA was fortunate enough to be doing some groundwork in this regard, and I will also show you the film which won the inscription. So all the 3 inscriptions which are there in the year 2008, they are related to Sanskrit. Now this is a very big statement by itself, because there was a parallel discourse going on that Sanskrit is a dead language. So how can it be a dead language when you have about 3 traditions, 3 different kind of traditions which have Sanskrit at its root, and they are inscribed in the UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. So one of them is Kudiyatam. I think we had some talks about Kudiyatam, and I'm sure you all would very much appreciate how the Sanskrit texts and Sanskrit drama is represented through the Kudiyatam art form. Professor Danino himself is such a great expert of this domain. The next one is the Vedic chanting, about which we are talking. And the third one is the Ram Leela. Of course, it is the Ram Leela of Ramnagar. But then again, Ram Leela tradition also has its root in the Ramayana and subsequently in the Vedas. So coming to the Vedic chanting, despite being the oldest, the Vedas have been preserved in their true form up till now. Even Max Muller, who's not considered by some today as an authority, but he was a renowned European scholar in his own right. He also admitted that the text of the Vedas has been handed down to us with such accuracy and care that there is hardly any change in the words or there is any uncertain aspect in the whole of the Vedas. Now, the credit for this goes to Vedic seers or rishis who devised the means of protecting and preserving the text of the Vedas letter by letter and accent by accent with all their accessories. As we all know, Vedic mantras have accents, and accents are called swaras, which preserve the original form of word construction. So there are three kinds of pathas or recitative traditions that were used, that were implied for memorizing the mantras. The first one was the Samhita Path, in which the mantra would remain in its true form. The second one would be the Padapatha, through which we would break the mantra in different portions, and then it is separately spoken. And the third one is Kramapatha, in which permutation of two words of a mantra are spoken jointly as ka, ka, or kha, kha, etc. So these are called the Prakriti Pathas. And now there were 8 very, very interesting ways of memorizing Vedas by a permutation and combination of different letters in different orders. And these were called the Vikriti Pathas. So these were Jata, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dhwaja, Danda, Ratha, and Ghana. The Ghana Patha being the most difficult and the longest one. Now, how it operated, we'll come to it in a bit. So, shall I show you an example so that it becomes a slightly bit clearer?
Yes, please, Professor Sudhir Lall. Yes, that will help a lot.
This is an example of how the mantra. Now, this is a very famous mantra. I think all of us would be knowing this. This is the Gayatri mantra from and Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Now, how it is done in the permutation and combination, and there is an Acharya Suresh Ghanpati ji who is describing this, and please listen to this.
Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. This is the sentence. Now the pada. Tat Savituhu Varenyam Bhargaha Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyaha Yaha Naha Prachodayat. This is called a pada. Now we have to combine two words. It is called krama. Tat savituhu savitur varenyam bhargaha bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yaha yonaha nah prachodayat. Prachodayaditi prachodayat. This is krama. Two words. Next one is jata. 2 words, combination of 6. The same Gayatri mantra. Tat savitus tat savituhu savitur varenyam savitur varenyam bhargo varenyam bhargaha bhargo devasya bhargo devasya dhimahi devasya dhimahi dhiyo yaha yo naha nah prachodayat no nah prachodayat prachodayaditi prachodayat. See the jata, you can see 2, whereas there are about 3 pairs. That is why even when you make that pinal in Tamil, no? So you can see only 2, but there are about 3 things in the back. So we are having 3 kramas, whereas only 2 padas is known. Next one is Ganapata. We have to take 3 padas and combination of 13. Same Gayatri mantra. Tat savitus tat savitur varenyam savitus tat savitur varenyam savitur varenyam savitur varenyam bhargo varenyam savitur varenyam bhargaha varenyam bhargo varenyam bhargo devasya bhargo varenyam bhargo devasya bhargo devasya dhimahi devasya bhargo devasya dhimahi devasya dhimahi devasya dhimahi dhiyo yo naha yo nah prachodayat no yo nah prachodayat nah prachodayat no nah prachodayat prachodayaditi prachodayat. See the small mantra, Gayatri mantra, which is comprising of approximately 10 words. So now we have recited the same mantra in Ghana form. There are a lot of benefits in this kind of Vikiti Pada. Assuming Samhita Pada when you recite, you will get 1-time benefit. Assume there is a 1 unit benefit. The same mantra recited in Pada, there is a word form, you will get 2 times benefit. If the same mantra recited in what we call Krama form, then you will get 4 times benefit. If it is in Jata form, you will get 1000 times benefit. If it is in Ghana form, you cannot measure. Infinite, Anantam. So now the same mantra from Rig, and Yajurveda from Sandhyavandana mantra is going to get recited in Ghana form, both Vedas, same text. Definitely will be able to appreciate what is the difference between the Rig Veda and the Yajurveda, especially the recitation method, the Sandhi rules, the Vyakarana or the grammar or the different Pratishakya, all those things a common man will be able to know. That is the highlight, that is the purpose of this event. During the Sandhya Vandana, we used to say this mantra, Apapushtamaya Bhoha. So now we are going to see the full Ganapata of these mantras.
Professor Sudhir, may I ask a question at this stage?
Yes, please.
Because I suspect that some of our students and listeners are wondering, so is it that all these techniques were applied to make sure that there was no error in the transmission, and did the students of the Vedic text, did they really have to practice all these techniques of permutations, repetitions, and so on? Is that the case? Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, sir, very much. That is the case, and that's how the Vedic tradition has been transferred to us without uh, without any you know declines or damages, because in their entirety intact. Because as the Acharya was telling, if you have to recite a mantra and you have to, this is like firewalling it from deviations. So anything which is recited so many times, a wonderful example of this can be had in music. As we all know, we tend to remember a song if we recite it many a times, if we listen to it many a times, then that song is in our hard disk, it is etched on the memory. So that is what the acharyas were doing. And towards the end of my talk, I will show a brief 9 minutes film which won the inscription for us, and in that you will get more to know about. So is that fine, Professor Danino?
Absolutely, please proceed. Yes.
So just now you heard this, huh? Let me give you another example of how the Vedic part or the Vedic text has been conserved, so to say. So there is a small one-liner, O Shadayaha Samvadante Somena Saharagya. This is Rig Veda 10:97-22. Now, this is the Samhita part. What I have just said, one sentence, is a Samhita part. To give you another example of this, what the Acharya was telling. Now, if we go into the Padapatha, so it would be Oshadayaha Sama Vadante Somena Saha Ragya. So we have broken it entirely, word by word. Then in the Krama Patha, now we are talking about the Prakriti Pathas. Then we will come to the Vikriti Pathas. So in the Krama, there would be Oshadayaha, some, that is A and B, then some Vadante, that is B and C, then Vadante Somena, that is C and D, then Somena Saha, is D and E, and then Saha Ragya, that is E and F, and Ragyeti Ragya. So that's how the Kram part would be. And if we come to the Jata part of the same, it would be O Shadayaha, some A and B. Then some O Shadayaha, B, and A. Then again, Jata, Jata, we have all seen Jatas. So they are like this. So that's how the text also proceeds. O Shadaya, some A and B again. Then some Vadante, some B, C, and C, B. Some Vadante, B, and C. So that's how it proceeds. So Acharya ji was telling one more very important thing, if you would have noticed. He was talking about the grammar. Of course, we talked about the Pratishakyas, and if we get more time, we'll talk about it more. So in Vyakarana, we need to know the Vyakarana, because otherwise there is a possibility of losing some text in the process of dissemination. So these are called, they are the very purpose of grammar, as says Maharshi Patanjali in his Pashpashanik. Iha, Iksha, Uha, Agama, Laghava, and Asandeha. So these are the very purpose of the Vyakarana. Iksha is to preserve the Vedas, and how it is done. Also, it says Laghava, that is, we have to be precise, accurate, and Asandeha. It should not be ambiguous. It should be absolutely clear and unambiguous. So, and then he gives an example of a word, sthula prishati, that is having bigger drops. Now, having bigger drops can have two meanings. If there is an udatta at the right place, it would mean the big drops. And if we have the udatta in the end, it would mean a cow which gives the milk with big drops. So you see, one word can be interpreted in two ways, just with the change of the accent or the swara. A very famous example, which is quoted in various texts and also in the Puranas, it has been elaborated in the fantastic Puranic style. There was a yagya, and yagya was performed by Tvashta, because for Indra. Indra was to be annihilated because Indra had killed Vritrasur, and Tvashta was his father. So he performed a yagya, and he was giving oblations, stating the sentence Indra Shatrur Vardhasva. Now, normally this would mean that the Indra, the enemy, just a second. May the enemy of Indra grow. Indra Shatru Vardhasva. But because he was not familiar with the intonations and the accentuations, he put the word, he put the accents in the wrong place. And subsequently, the mantra became suicidal, because it gave the meaning that Indra, someone who has Indra as his enemy, he may grow. So Indra grew in power instead of Vritrasur, Tvashta, and that's why he was killed. So this is famously recorded in a couplet, Dushtaha Shabdaha Swarato Varanato Va Mithya Prayukto Natamartamaha Sa Vag Vajro Yajamanam Hinasti. That is, it is like the Vajra of Indra. It kills the Yajamana who is not conversant with the proper training of swaras or accents. Yathendra Shatru Swarato Aparadhat. So there was a skhalan, there was an aparadha, there was a misdoing of swara, and that's why Indra Shatru was killed. So with this, I would like to share the other film, which it's a short 9 minutes film, and this will give you an idea as to how the Indic tradition of Vedic recitation was recorded in the UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List. Just a second.
Yashchate bhavaropayaha Yashchate bhavaropayaha Yashchate bhavaropayaha Namaste Rudra Kurnumas Namaste Rudra Kurnumas Namaste Rudra Kurnumas Sahasrakshaya Martya Sahasrakshaya Martya Sahasrakshaya Martya Purastate Namah Krunuma Purastate Namah Krunuma Purastate Namah Krunuma Uttarada Dharaduta Uttarada Dharaduta Uttarada Dharaduta Abhivarga Divas Paryanta Abhivarga Divas Paryanta Abhivarga Divas Paryanta Anshayate Namaha.
Parvatam Viriya
इषेत्वा सुभूताय वायवस्थदेवो वस्सविदा प्रायतु श्रेष्ठतमाय कर्मणा आप्यायध्वमग्न्या देवेभ्या इन्द्राय भागम् मावस्तेन ईशतमाघशगुंसा ध्रुवा अस्मिन् गोपतौ स्यात् दुःखीमानस्य पशून्दाहि अश्मन्नोर्जम् पर्वते श्रियाणामद्भ्यो वनस्पतिभ्यो धिरमृताम् तान्नहिजमूर्जन्नुदामरतसगुम्रणाश्मग्गुस्त्वन्मयिता ऊर्जन् दुष्मस्तन्तेषु पृच्छतु समुद्रस्य त्वावकयाग्ने परिव्ययामसि पावको अस्तगुं शिवो भव हिमस्य त्वाजरायुणाग्ने परिव्ययामसि पावको अस्मभ्यगुं शिवो भव उपज्मन्नुपवेतसेव तरन्नदीश्वा अग्ने वित्तमपामसि मण्डूकिताधिरागहि ॐ शन्नो देवीरभीष्टय आपो भवन्तु पीतये शंयोरभिश्रवन्तु नः आपः प्रणीत भेषजं वरुथं तन्वे मम ज्योक्ष्य सूर्यं दृशे अप्सु मे सोम अब्रवीदन्तरविश्वानि भेषज
ॐ यज्ञेनो यज्ञेनो यज्ञं यज्ञमो यजन्ता यज्ञमो यजन्ता अयजन्त देवा ओ यजन्त देवाः देवास्तानि तानि देवास्तानि तानि धर्माणि तानि धर्माणि प्रथमानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् प्रथमान्यासन् आसन्नित्यासन् देहो हते देहान् हनाकम् महिमानो नाकम् महिमानाः महिमानः महिमानः सचन्त यत्र यत्र पूर्वे यत्र पूर्वे साध्या पूर्वे साध्याः सन्ति साध्याः सन्ति देवाः सन्ति देवाः देवा इति देवाः
ये अग्नयो ये दिवो पृथिव्या समागच्छन्ति शंजगुंसानाः ते अस्मये द्रव्यं वेष्टाहुतिवायो भूत्वा यथा लोकं पुनस्तपयतस्माः
अग्निभ्य इदं नमः
द्वितीयां पूर्णाहुतिं होति अग्निभ्य इदं नमः यजमाना अध्वर्यो
अश्वन् ददामि
ये अग्नयो ये दिवो पृथिव्या समागच्छन्ति शंजगुंसानाः ते अस्मये द्रव्यं वेष्टाहुतिवायो भूत्वा यथा लोकं पुनस्तपयतस्माः
अग्निभ्य नमः
द्वितीयां पूर्णाहुतिं होति
विश्वेषां
हिता
विश्वेषां हिता
पुनातीते परिस्थितं सोमसुविश्वभविता वारेण शश्वतातना समीमनिमीजमर्या गोप्रन्दोषो नदुषा सुसारपाये दिवि Hari Om.
Okay, so I could see a couple of questions in the chat box. So one was, what is the significance of being enlisted in the ICH? So this inscription is important because it does not entail any financial benefits, but it gives the element, as they say, a sense of identity, and it links the past with the present and for the future. So of course, it raises awareness about some element which is to be protected, and the governments, the local bodies, they should be more proactive to save that element, because as we saw in the movie, it was in the year 2008 when this inscription was done. And after that, subsequently, the Government of India launched the Vedic Heritage Portal in 2014. And then that's how a concerted effort on part of government began. So if we would have time and inclination of all of you, we can certainly have a presentation on the Vedic Heritage Portal tomorrow. And second question was, is the Paipalad Shakha is from the Rishi Pippalad? The answer is yes. We have about 9, we get references of about 9 recensions of the Atharva Veda, out of which only 2 survive. One is Paipalad and the other is Shaunak. We don't have any chanting tradition of the Shaunak Shakha. And there are only Paipalad people who are there in Odisha. And I think with this, Professor Danino, we come to the conclusion of my presentation.